confessor. She's the last one now, but I also feel like, why wouldn't she have put together that he's reacting to very specific information that she wants to know about too? Maybe this guy might be more than he's leading on to.
I felt the whole time I was reading this that that's what she was reacting to. That she has a feeling that Zed is more important than he's led on that he is.
So you think she's kind of playing cat and mouse, but she's being very subtle about it right now.
Because she made that promise to Richard, she is not trying to out and out call him out, but she's speaking in very, third person terms. Like, the common folk really need your help. Darkin says it's the Great One's fault, trying to put the guilt back on the Great One. And she also makes a comment about the wizards, about how they may have disappointed their teacher, but in the end, the lesson that he taught them was to protect the people, and they gave their lives to protect the people, and their teacher would have been proud of them.
Because that's what she's doing. Now it's her mission to figure out how to stop Dark and Rawl. So
Right.
She's trying to protect the people. Which then, Zed explains that the Great One, the Great Wizard, doesn't appoint seekers, they appoint themselves. The wizard just recognizes that he's the seeker. Or she, as we find out. Because, much to Kaylin's amazement, seekers can be male or female.
Right, there's no sexism here.
Exactly. And like he even says, some of the greatest seekers have been women. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he also says that a true seeker is a rare person, which I thought was a really interesting statement for him to make.
And says that kings, big, honcho, macho kings, a seeker asking them one question can make them quiver and shake in their boots.
Right, and there's a comment about righteous anger and how it can be good or bad, and that's very interesting considering that our main character doesn't really show anger ever. He's trained himself not to use his anger.
He completely shies away from it. And I mean, shies away from it is actually the wrong term to use. He makes a choice to not be angry.
Actively tries to avoid confrontation.
Right. Always tries to use a level head. And I mean, I guess that makes sense about what you're saying. She probably has an inkling that Zed's a little more than he's letting on to. That makes perfect sense. How she made a promise to Richard now, at the very least, that she wouldn't
ask for Zed's help.
Right. She wouldn't out and out ask him. But I think right now she's making the connections in her head that this might actually be the guy. But I made the promise and she's keeping it. Richard's blacked out. He's probably never going to know. But she's still holding true to her promise. And I think that says something about Kaylin's character.
Well, and did you also feel that Zed is avoiding making this appointment for a reason that he doesn't want to make clear yet? He doesn't like the idea of doing it in the first place because whoever's going to do this is going to die if they have to go to the Midlands.
And especially because Kaylin brings up the point of, I need the wizard's help, because even if he's not willing to do the stuff that needs to get done, she can, I believe she says, I will use my power to make him do what needs to be done. Which adds more to the Kaylin mystery of, what exactly is a confessor at this point? What is her power that she can make people do what they don't want to do? And adds a little bit more to, she's been choking Richard out. She's kind of been given hints to, I'm not just a delicate flower, in this beautiful white dress and long, luscious hair. There's a little bit more to her. And we can kind of see where this conversation is, to me, when I was listening to it, because I listened to an audiobook, is, this was a little bit more of a confrontation. This isn't just a, have a cup of tea, so how are you? It's I need to find the wizard. What do you mean you need to find the wizard? I need to find the wizard. What do you mean you need to find the wizard? Well, he needs to appoint a seeker. Whoa, what do you know about the seeker? This is they're kind of, I pictured them going at it.
It's a battle of wits.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a chess match with no chessboard. They're what do you know? What do you know?
The funny thing about it is that they're both aware that this is what's happening, and neither one of them can allude to the fact that they know that this is what's happening, but they still have to play the game exactly that way.
Right, and one of Zed's points is that the Seeker whoever it would be wouldn't know the Midlands. And Kaylin's like, why the fuck do you think I'm here? I would also be a guide. I can speak so many fucking languages.
All of them. Even the minor ones.
Right.
All of them.
All of them. I've traveled the world, and I'm a fucking badass. Also, we could draw our fair share of lightning. So, yeah.
Which I thought that was weird. Like, I didn't understand that point, where it was like, you think the Seeker's gonna get lightning? I got my own lightning. And I don't know if that's just a thing by Terry, that, like, that phrase is a thing, but I understood what it meant.
And she just makes the point that if we were easy to kill, you wouldn't need 4 motherfucking full-grown men to kill us.
Who failed.
Right.
And probably, it doesn't sound like this was her first rodeo with quads either. So this is, multiple times that they've failed to kill her.
And just to remind everyone, bitch doesn't even have a fucking knife.
No weapons at all.
So at this point, Richard moans.
Grabs both of their attention.
Yeah.
Kaylin and Zed kind of snap out of the confrontation. Let's take care of Richard.
And the thorn just kind of falls out of his hand.
And Kaylin reaches for it. And Zed's like, no, don't fucking do that. It just came out of a host. It's going to want to find a new one. Put it on the plate, hold it from underneath, bring it to the fucking fire, and drop it in there, which is a terrifying thought to me.
This plant that's been in Richard starts wiggling towards Zed's finger, which, for you, as a known creepy crawly hater, now you have to worry about plants. And that's got to be terrifying.
Snakes don't freak me out, but I feel like this little thorn, which can creep and crawl all on its own, which is much smaller than a snake, would scare the fuck out of me. I could not handle that. Not at all. I would see that thing move and be like, I'm getting the hell out of this house, guys. This has been fun and all. Zed, work your magic. I'm out. I'm going to go get a hotel. I'll call you in the morning. Figure it out from there.
Yeah, thorns aren't supposed to wiggle.
No, it's a plant. Just the fact that this snake vine moved the way it did to bite Richard was enough for me to be like, hell no.
Done. No, that was just me being like, done.
Well, and that goes back to our point of clearly Zed knows more than what he's letting on. Like, he's not just someone who watches Clouds naked. He's not just someone who knows the town gossip. Like, he knows about this foreign plant that Richard, who, a known woodsman, knows the forest, arguably, because the whole thing about the quads catching up, and he's supposedly a forest expert. But Richard's only seen this once before, and Zed knows exactly how to get rid of it. So clearly, more fuel to the fire. Zed's something different than just the old man who's knows what's going on. But so he's, throw it in the fire, get rid of it, don't touch it. That's a bad idea.
Absolutely. I feel like if Kaylin didn't know before the thorn came out that Zed was more than what he said, at this point she has to know. Even though I feel like she had a feeling before Richard even fell asleep. After he talks about the wizards and the thorns and all the shit, I feel like if Kaylin doesn't know at this point, she's an idiot. Because the reader damn sure should know. All you readers and listeners out there, if you don't know at this point, not to burst your bubble, but you're being kind of foolish. Because Zed knows more than he should for a normal old man.
And, Zed kind of starts to, I want to say, turn his hand just a little bit. Because he asks Kaylin, hey, why didn't you tell him what you are yet? And it kind of catches her off guard because I don't think she was prepared to hear him change the tact of the game. At first, they weren't letting on that they knew any more than they did. And now Zed's like, yeah, no, I know some shit about you. So now he's forcing her to tell the truth.
No, he did call her a confessor earlier.
Right, but now he knows she's being dishonest with Richard.
Right, yes.
And he's
absolutely.
calling her out on that. I guess that was no,
Yes.
You're absolutely right. He did call her a confessor earlier. He knows what she is. Now he's saying that he knows she's being dishonest with Richard.
Right.
We also know that she's not just a confessor. She's the mother confessor. So maybe that's Zed kind of hinting at that, like, listen, there's confessors, and then there's mother confessor. So maybe let's stop playing subtle shadow chess and let's just start putting our cards on the table. Like, our friend's in trouble. Shit's getting real. Dark and Rawls doing shit. Let's stop being subtle. Let's kind of start getting at it.
And she essentially says it's because of how people react. She's like, I want his friendship. And Zed essentially apologizes for the way he acted and told her that she's always going to be welcome in his home. He knows she's a good person.
Right. She's not trying to hurt anybody.
Which is weird because he immediately threatens her.
Right.
He's like, you're always going to be welcome here. Which, by the way, if you do anything to harm Richard, we gonna have problems.
Which is funny because earlier in the chapter, Richard was like, don't fuck with my friend. And Zed immediately was like, don't fuck with Richard.
I thought this was a little funny because he hasn't out and out said that he's anything more than just an old dude in the woods who likes to look at clouds naked. And he threatens her, hey, if you fuck with Richard, I'm going to fuck with you back and you are not going to like it. And as powerful as we're led to believe she is, how could she be threatened by just some old dude in the woods? I think that if at no other point in this chapter, this is where Zed shows his true hand to Kaylin.
I do love the way he's like, you won't like it.
You're not going to like it.
Which, yeah, because Kaylin said herself, like, I'm going to make the Grand Wizard do what I want him to do. So we're not talking about a run-of-the-mill wizard. We're talking about a Grand Wizard. And she's not a confessor. She's the Mother Confessor. So there's some power lines being established, and clearly she thinks she's more powerful than the Grand Wizard. Which, also at the same time, I mean, she's also here to get his help. So it's kind of like, I think we're kind of at like a rock, paper, scissors match where it's like, I could beat you, you could beat me. There's also a third person, possibly, who's scissors that might be able to beat us. I'm not sure who's what yet, but like a lot of threats get thrown around.
Everybody's threatening each other.
Yeah, Richard, the common denominator who's friends with everyone, is asleep, and all of a sudden threats are just kind of like, you're welcome here. I'll cut your throat. Also, I see that you'll cut my throat, but I might make whoever you might be do whatever I want and cut your throat. And Richard's snoozing. And it's weird. It's a weird dynamic for the listener or book reader at this point. Because it's like, I thought we were all friends.
It was like a Hulk moment, though. Like, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Yeah, exactly. Don't piss me off.
A little edge. Little edge to Zed.
You're welcome to sleep here. But do you really want to go to sleep here?
You're welcome to sleep here, but if you fucking snore once...
Right.
Yeah. Zed mentions that Kaylin would make a good seeker.
Yeah.
But, you know, and this has kind of been... We've kind of established that. Like, Kaylin's smart. She's powerful, she's smart. And Zed's like, you know, you'd probably make a good seeker.
She's played this mental chess with Zed now for at least a little while. And I feel like Zed is kind of fucking with her just a little bit to test her. But I think he recognizes she's intelligent.
Zed and Kaylin kind of make up at this point. You know, Kaylin's like, look, I'm not going to harm Richard. I'm not going to harm you. We're at a peace at this point.
I made him a promise that I wasn't going to fuck with you. I'm just going to sit by him, okay, until he wakes up. Cool?
To which Zed agrees. And she says all of this with tired eyes, it says. Zed can tell this woman is beat. So he does a really weird thing, and he puts his fingers on her temples, and he rubs her temples.
And she moans.
She moans.
There's a lot of moaning in this chapter.
Which, I think this goes back to what you said in an earlier episode. Terry's horny. There's a lot of moaning. There's a lot of touching. And to be fair, though, this gets brought up because... Zed's like, you're tired. Go get some sleep. And Kaylin's like, I'm going to stay up and help my friend Richard. You know, I want to be here when he wakes up. And then, all of a sudden, Zed gets his magic fingers out. And now, he touches, I believe it's her temples.
Yes, her
we need
temples.
to clarify that. Magic fingers go to the temples of Kaylin. And that's when the moan happens.
Yeah.
And she is out. She's out like a light switch. That's not the phrase. She's out like lights?
No,
They don't have electricity, so it'd be
Candle
she's out
switch.
like a candle.
Switch?
She goes out like a candle.
Yeah, she's out. She's sleeping.
Now, for the rest of you that are still with us right now,